Hey everybody, just a little disclaimer here. My audio was not plugged in and I did not check to see if it was being recognized by my computer system during this interview. So I didn't realize it was not recording using my microphone, but it was instead recording using just my webcam. So if it sounds like myself is webcam quality, that is why. Fortunately, our guests sounds fantastic, and the conversation was really good, and I don't really see a need to re-recording things, so hopefully it's not too big of a problem for you guys. But anyways, I'm excited for you guys to listen to what we talk about and really get to know the guest. So without further ado, let's dive in. I just want to, like, I'm pumped up. Are you like Space Jam pumped up, with that music?
I love your show's music. Yeah, it always gets me pumped up.
Oh, yeah. Dude, how you doing, man?
I feel great. I had a great day working at the office and then going to the gym and just having that, solid work-life balance. It's tough, but I think I've got something figured out, at least for a little while, until the routine totally falls apart, and I'll figure it out again. But
that's cool. With the gym, so I haven't been to the gym since pre-COVID, essentially.
Right.
Which is probably bad. How are they handling the whole situation overall?
I mean, I'm going to Orange Theory, and they are handling it fairly well. I always try to go to the classes where there's just less people. And I try to stay away from people's spots. Definitely hard to, work out in a mask. I've tried it a couple times and I've just kind of given up. And they have you wipe down everything afterwards. I feel okay. It's a sacrifice. If I got COVID at the gym, I'd be like, well, that sucks. But honestly, it's enriching. I like doing it. And I have to do it. I don't know. Part of that work-life balance. I just got to do something. I got to get out.
Yeah, dude, you get stir crazy, Do you work from home or do you work in the office?
No, I like going into the office. Right? Yeah, I need to go into an office to work because you just got to separate your spaces, right? Like, it's even weird doing this in my bedroom. Like, this is where I sleep and theoretically relax. And I have my whole podcasting set up here. If I lived in an ideal world, I would have like my own home office where I go and do the podcast, do the writing, and, didn't go completely crazy. But now I'm going completely crazy.
Just so you know, I do that. Like, I have a separate room for my stuff,
And isn't that better?
No, man, because here, I work part from home and part in office. But the way my setup is, like what I'm using now is my personal computer. So, it's like its own corner. But I have a desk attached to this desk, and there's my two work screens like right over here. So it's like I'm stuck in this area for 8 hours a day anyway. So it makes me not want to come in here and work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you just need like a separate space for everything, even if it's, I don't know, just turning a foot over this way to work on.
Yeah,
something.
and I even thought about like making my work space like for work, like set up in my living room or something, but I'm like, no, that's my relaxing area. I don't have any, like, it's crowded, but yeah, dude, stir crazy. It's the thing. So I've been going on walks though. That's my exercise, is just going on walks. But with Omicron, I'm like, I didn't go on a walk for a while because like how contagious it is, I'm like, I'm paranoid. That's not good to be paranoid. It's stir crazy. It's part of the whole, just going on. But that's cool, dude. What do you even do for a living? Do you want to talk about that at all, or no?
I'll talk a little bit about it. I don't know if it's too interesting for your audience, but I work in science communication and video content creation. I work at the University of Utah at an organization called the Genetic Science Learning Center. We make videos and animations and support material for curriculum in science classrooms that are around the country. And it's pretty cool to see that kind of reach and know that, you know, the videos I'm creating and I do a little bit of writing there. The writing I do there, you know, touches people in a good way, because I know some filmmakers and fellow video artists who, you know, have to take the advertisement for BP or for the rifle company. And, you know, that might not be the thing they're most excited to do, but it's what pays the bills. So I feel very lucky that I'm able to use my my talents and my skills for something that I think is a benefit to society. And I honestly love. I love science. I love biology. I love studying evolution and all that kind of stuff is just awesome. You know.
So, okay, evolution. Let's start. I remember before we started recording, I'm like, you know, I might ask you about something dark like AI or something, but let's talk about evolution, okay?
Okay.
With social media being a thing, and you know, Mark Zuckerberg trying to like implement virtual reality into our society, do you think it's part of the human evolution to go that route, or do you think that's really freaking weird?
If it's you know, if that evolution works on timescales that are really, really hard to imagine. You know, if we look at the human biology, it hasn't changed in like 2 million years, right? Is that the future of the human evolution? I don't think so. But if there's a niche, if there's an environment where that becomes the dominant trait is to just log into the computer and sit at home, you know, then yeah, I guess that's the future of human evolution. But that kind of environment would need to exist first. Listen, monkey brains. These are just monkey brains swimming around. We should not be talking to each other. We should not be sitting in this environment. This is all very crazy. And in fact, so much of our lives and my life in general is just trying to trick my monkey brain into a working and doing what it's supposed to do, because we are very stuck in the 2 million year old human evolution biology that we were given. Yeah. Civilization maybe progressed too quickly, and we have not caught up with the technology that we have stumbled upon.
See, and I had that thought because, like, I mean, if you talk to your grandparents or stuff like that, you know, I remember like talking to my grandpa when he was in college. He had a buddy write a paper on holograms, right?
Okay.
And this is like in the 70s, 60s, maybe. And everybody thought he was crazy. They're like, "There's no way." But then, you know, now it's more or less a thing, not like Star Wars level, but I mean, it's still, you know,
yeah,
there. And he doesn't even understand how to work a phone, you know, and we have to explain stuff to him, and it just confuses him and pisses him off. And like where we were 50, 60 years ago was like, and where we are now, I mean, like technology surpassed everything. Then like it's crazy.
I don't think, yeah, I mean, this podcast, we'll get into it, is all about history and the never-ending progression of culture and looking at films from the 1920s. Can they imagine films as they are today? No, they can't. It's crazy to think about. And if you had a time machine, wouldn't it just be so fun to go show people from the 1920s, 30s, like the films that we're watching today? The technology is out of this world. It's crazy. The best prank would really be, you know, the movie Cloverfield, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Take Cloverfield back to someone in 1940 and be like, this is what documentaries are like in 2008.
Oh, dude.
Monsters rampaging around New York.
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, because cinema as an art form is relatively a young art form, you know, compared to like paintings or drawings or anything like that. You know what I mean? Photography, even, because photography came around like in the 1860s, maybe. Mm-hmm. So it's still relatively young, especially in the span of like the mankind, you know, like being a human species. Like it's not even like an atom size of like how young it is, you know, like on that scale. So it's cool.
It is cool. I mean, that's part of the reason why I love cinema. It's still evolving and it still feels really fresh and new. But that's also, I mean, we can just keep derailing ourselves forever and ever. But I'm really, really fascinated with video games and video game writing, because that is a new art form. That's fresh. That's right off the boat kind of stuff. And there's still so much experimentation being done in video game writing. It makes film writing look archaic.
It does.
Yeah.
Dude. Okay. We'll go into this, but first, let's have you introduce yourself real quick, because you did mention that you have a podcast as well, and we're going to touch on everything. So I'm excited for this.
Yeah, we've been hinting at all the random things that hinting. I do.
Yeah.
Okay. So hello, Chaz's audience. My name is Arthur Veenema. I'm a filmmaker here in Utah. I think I'm best known for a series of science fiction short films that I've been working on over the years. And I am also the producer and co-host of the film history podcast, A Century in Cinema. I co-host that along with Andrew Slaughter. We watch and discuss a classic film from every year, starting in the year 1920, and episode by episode, we're going through, and eventually we'll land on the year 2020. So 100 episodes, we're devoted to it.
So when you reach 2020, are you giving up, or are you going to reset and watch this another well-known film?
I like having an end date for a project.
Having the end date. Wow.
I'm also a professional screenwriter, I think, in a way. Chaz, that's how you and I actually know each other, because through Marta Reeder, Marta and I were both staff writers at Vivani Productions back when they had a little bit more writing going on. And we were part of the writers group that was going on at Vivani. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think every time you and I have interacted has always just been at that specifically.
Yeah. In a group setting. So this is weird. Just you and me one-on-one.
Yeah. I mean, were you at her party thing? When she first got in Vivani?
Yes.
You were there. I don't remember if we talked then, but I'm trying to think. I'm like, there has to be because we know so many mutuals,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've had to have one-on-one conversations somewhere in there, but
yeah, I don't know. And I follow you on social media and on Letterboxd and stuff like that. So I feel like I know you really well, but then, it's we haven't actually talked to each other in a monogamous way. It's always been in a group or giving each other critiques on our scripts and stuff.
Yeah. So with your podcast, I saw that your latest episode, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's Scarface. Yeah.
We just watched 1983's Scarface. And now that we're in the 1980s, it really feels like we're in the modern era of cinema. These films feel really recent, especially compared to, we started in the silent era. We've come a long way. So we're now on Scarface.
What's your favorite era then?
Oh, they all have their benefits. They all have their pros and cons for sure. The silent films are really interesting because, there's the experimentation. Filmmakers are trying to look at new ways of exploring stories through film. They don't know exactly how to cut yet, and they're still trying out new things. So there's that fun aspect of it, but I can understand why some people don't love silent films. I mean, they're slow. The pacing is kind of off. They just feel like a kind of like a really separate art form from what we have now. But as soon as sound enters cinema, it becomes a different art form for sure. I think I'm biased. I really like the era of 2008 to 2010, because that's when I was in high school and was really into, that's when I discovered film and really fell in love with it. So No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood. These are great films that I just think of as the height of cinema. But that's because they came along at the right time in my life and I really just fell in love with them. But I will still die on the hill that I think Dark Knight is probably the best superhero movie out there. I don't think I've seen anything that really tops it.
Dude, Dark Knight,
objectively,
so great.
Yeah.
It's like an annual rewatch, the whole trilogy, and freaking Nolan, dude.
Yeah. But I mean, the 70s were a weird time for film. We just came from the 70s on our podcast, and there's a lot of cult films. I mean, Hollywood kind of fell apart in the 60s and the studio system really declined. So the 70s, you see this opening where a bunch of cult films, a bunch of little films become huge box office successes. that you wouldn't expect. Midnight films, the Hays Code falls apart, so you have less censorship, and filmmakers are excited to push the boundaries. So the 70s are a really cool time for filmmaking, and I mean, out of it you get filmmakers with a lot of control, true auteurs that come and really the directors have all the power on the set, so you have some really strong voices, and that's where you really get the emergence of classic filmmakers like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. But you also have filmmakers like, Jodorowsky. We watched The Holy Mountain. I really, really loved that. So they're great films in the 70s, really, really.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the 70s. Like the first one that comes to mind is probably Dirty Harry, because that was like, what, 73 maybe?
Yeah, I think it's sometime in the 70s. I haven't seen Dirty Harry, actually.
Oh, it's interesting. There's a lot of, camera work that's like, oh, this is really interesting.
The camera work's interesting. All I know about Dirty Harry is that in Roger Ebert's review of it, he called it like an explicitly fascist film, like it's fascist propaganda. And that's always kind of turned me off.
Yeah, I mean, it has issues.
It's problematic.
Well, I mean, and like I say, I didn't know that, but like I know it because of what is it? Probably not Ace Ventura, Bruce Almighty. When he's in the car and he's like,
oh yes,
so lucky, a punk. That's the only reference I know from him. I'm like, oh, so it must be a cult classic, right? And then I watch it, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, Scarface was also a problematic film. There's a lot of problematic films when you go back in time. They just exist. They're out there. And usually my co-host, Andrew Slaughter, is kind of more forgiving. He's into the aesthetics and the filmmaking. But right. Scarface actually kind of rubbed him the wrong way. There's some weird stuff going on in Scarface. And I was on the other side. I was like, well, I can overlook it. I think it's just an entertaining film. But usually I'm kind of like pointing out the problematic aspects of films. I really liked The Deer Hunter. It's a great film, but there's certain things, and I pointed out in our podcast episode that just are worth pointing out. The one film that I couldn't stand though was The Searchers, John Wayne.
I have yet to see that actually.
You don't have to. Isn't that great? I don't put it on your watch list. You don't have to. Yeah, there's some really problematic stuff with American Westerns, and we get into that in the podcast too. The podcast has been a great way to go back in time and explore how history changes, how it's all moving and flowing, and the people and the audiences and what's popular, what's the zeitgeist in the 50s versus the 70s. I think it's been an enriching project just for myself. And I hope, judging by the feedback and the conversations I have with some of our audience and listeners, I think a lot of people have gotten a lot out of it too.
So with Westerns though, do you think neo-Westerns kind of address those problems, or do you think neo-Westerns in themselves are kind of problematic, similar to Westerns?
That's a great question. I think they've come a long way. A lot of the neo-Westerns I think of, I just mentioned I love No Country for Old Men.
Right.
I don't find anything problematic there, but I'll admit I'm very curious to know, like, when I grow up, what's going to be considered terribly problematic. Things that I loved that people point out that, just aren't okay anymore. Javier Bardem, is he going to be like a problematic depiction of foreigners in America in the future? Maybe he already is. I don't know. I think he's just an incredibly scary villain. I love him in that film. It's like the highlight of the film.
Yeah.
I think neo-Westerns they're definitely at a better place than they were in the 50s. And I think that there's a lot of subversions of the old cliches and tropes that are doing better.
Do you have a favorite neo-Western aside from, No Country for Old Men? Because I think that's a phenomenal film.
Right. That's in a category all its own, right?
But dude, the fact there's no score in that movie until the credits.
Yeah.
And it's like, almost 2.5 hours long, almost. Like it's.
Oh yeah.
Dude, the tension just starts from the beginning. Like it's well crafted. You can't get better than that with like craft,
Yeah. I am a fan of Wind River, and I'm not. I like Wind River.
Yeah. I like what's it? Hell or High Water.
And yeah, Taylor Sheridan's he just wrote that. He directed Wind River. Yeah, those are two good examples. And I've had people point out the problematic aspects with both of them as well.
Oh yeah.
But they're there. But I like Wind River a lot.
I think as far as story and script goes, I think those are pretty strong. But in terms of But
when I saw it, I was so proud. Like I know a lot of our local Utah crew worked on Wind River, and I was just so happy to see that there was something really powerful emotionally that they had all worked on. Because I know a lot of local crews here would just work on Hallmark movies, and it's cool to see something like Wind River come along every now and then.
Yeah, and that's how I felt for Yellowstone as well, especially when you see extras or small roles with the people you actually know playing a part in it. I'm like, that's so rad, and you recognize like it's an Ogden or Salt Lake or freaking BFE. I think it's really cool. But then Utah's legislator doesn't understand that. Yeah,
there's a whole discussion going on right now with trying to get more tax incentives for films to come here. We lost Yellowstone and the future seasons of that show because of the tax credits, and it moved to Montana, which maybe it should be in Montana. It's set in Montana. I don't know.
Hey, you're making too much sense now. Okay.
Yeah.
Because as you said, each era kind of has its own defining moments, but then there's films that are problematic or that may be problematic now. In terms of video games, I'm going to tie that back in because I'm glad you brought that up, actually.
Talk about video games. Hell yeah.
Yeah, because for example, I'm not like a huge gamer, right? I'm not huge into like Call of Duty or anything like that. Like my type of games are more, do you know who David Cage is?
No.
So David Cage is the game developer who did like Heavy Rain.
Heard of it.
Beyond Two Souls, and then was it Detroit Become Human? And he's working on a Star Wars video game.
Ooh.
But all of his video games are very cinematically driven with consequences of choice. And so there's multiple endings, which I think is the most fascinating thing of everything, having the multiple endings to all these characters,
Yeah. Multiple endings stress me out, man. Don't you ever feel like you got the worst one?
Yeah.
Isn't that like an innate fear? You're like, I picked the wrong ending.
Yeah, well then the fucking asshole game developers are like, well, we're gonna make it so the game automatically saves a millisecond after the scene starts.
Yeah.
And there's no going back. Like you're like, I have to deal with this consequence. Shit.
Yeah.
Because you try ideally, on my first playthrough, I like to play it how I would react to situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's only fair, right?
It's the video game is the avatar. It's you, yeah.
Yeah. But then when you get those results, I'm like, are you trying to get me to be like a bad person? Or are you trying to say I'm not a good enough person? You know what I mean?
So you're saying that you kind of gravitate towards being evil in the video game, doing the bad thing, going to the dark side?
No. Depends what kind of game. If it's Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead Redemption or Star Wars.
You're like, what's going to happen if I just kick this person?
Yeah, and plus, dude, some of the people on there are like real assholes, right? And like they like threaten you. So if you're in the wild, wild west in the 1800s, you don't want to be fucked with. Like, excuse you, you're not gonna mess with me. And half the time I don't even kill them. I just tie them up. I'm like, somebody comes to save you. That's cool.
I think Star Wars games really. I think that's where Star Wars as a franchise really shines. Is that. In the video games, you can choose between the light side and the dark side. Knights of the Old Republic, right, is just such a classic because of that. They're
remastered, or not? What are they doing? They're totally redoing it.
I think essentially,
so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better than Boba Fett, that's for sure.
I haven't watched it.
I just watched the finale tonight, so.
So it's on your mind.
I'm mad. Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry, man.
That whole franchise, not the franchise, just that. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Yeah. But with multiple endings, I don't know, from a writing standpoint, maybe you would know, but maybe you would have to go into this first. Like your writing process when you write, do you outline stuff first, or do you just go full on in the script and then figure it out as you go?
That's a great question. I usually always try to form some sort of outline, whether it's on index cards or in some sort of treatment or synopsis format, just to give yourself a skeleton. And sometimes what I find really helpful, because I still consider myself a new writer, is to take established stories, people that have actually figured out what to do, and kind of hang your story off of that skeleton. I'm not talking about ripping off another story, but like, this is what George Lucas did with the whole hero cycle and the classic journey. You take something that is kind of an archetype and you write to that. There's a reason why every story kind of feels like a Shakespeare story, right? Because those plays are so iconic and they hit their beats in such a way that it's pretty easy to then take Hamlet and then put it in Africa and an animated lions, call it The Lion King, got a new movie, you know? My favorite director, and we just had our episode on Akira Kurosawa, our 1980 episode in A Century in Cinema, Kagemusha. He does this all the time. He takes a classic story and hangs new, fresh material off of it. So I'm a fan of doing that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Every story's been done, right?
Yeah, especially, I mean, when you understand the elements that were put into, like, you know, Shakespeare, for example, like what makes a tragedy, right? Mm-hmm. And once you understand how it's applied or how structured it is, then you can apply that to your own stories, but then you can also kind of experiment, essentially, and break the rules, knowingly break the rules to make something a little bit more fresh. In a way, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What are you going to say?
I was going to say that that's a great idea. Oh. We should just keep doing that.
And I guess the reason I ask, like, do you outline first or whatever, is because, like, with these multiple endings of video games, you know, and I know Netflix tried it with was a Black Mirror episode at one point.
Yeah.
Where it has multiple endings depending on your decisions. I feel like you would need to outline.
Be like, very diligent in your outline. Yeah.
You would have to have like a definitive ending that would be like probably the most go-to ending, right? But then you'd probably have to branch off and then like start branching off certain parts of the story where they could take a quick turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I meant what I said earlier about multiple endings kind of being really problematic, because when I'm writing, like, the ending is so important. It's so important. To have multiple endings means in my mind, you got to have multiple beginnings. Because I love bookends. I love it when an ending mirrors a beginning and it kind of brings everything together and makes sense. How do you do that with multiple endings? One of them is going to work better than the others. And this is like the classic problem. They tried it in Clue in the 1980s.
Not seen that.
Yeah, they released different versions of this film to different theaters around the country. And kind of based on the different endings that different audiences saw, some people really liked it and some people were like, that was terrible. And now if you watch Clue, which is a super funny movie, it really comes together in the end. It's just every ending right after each other. And it's just a whole big mess, which kind of reflects the whole big mess of the whole mystery in the film. Like, it's all a comedy and it's all making fun of just how whodunits are nonsense. So the ending being like a big smorgasbord of different endings and different perpetrators being the actual murder actually works. But it didn't work when it was released in theaters back in the 80s. So I don't recommend it. I don't like multiple endings, even in video games. I don't think they work there.
Do you think then, like, let's take the latest Scream movie, for example, right? They said they had multiple endings written out and they gave different endings to different cast members to keep the real ending a secret, right? Ooh. Do you buy into that, or do you think that's kind of like a tactic to add more to the sensation of the movie?
Oh, that's kind of interesting. Tricking actors there's a long tradition, right? They're just keeping your actors in the dark, not telling them everything that they need to know in order to get the best performance out of them. If it works, it works. If the movies turns out good, was the new Scream good? I didn't see it.
I haven't seen it yet either.
Okay.
Which makes me really sad because it's one of my favorite horror franchises. But
yeah, the first Scream is really funny.
It's funny. The second one is just making fun of sequels. The third one's just making fun of third movie. It's just it's so on the nose with what it's doing, and yet people freaking think it's dumb and too on the nose, right? I'm like, that's the point. Like, have you not watched anything, you know? But yeah, I want to see it. So eventually.
There's too much to watch out there, Chaz.
There is.
This is why I can't do television anymore. I really don't sit down to watch an episode of TV every night because they're just so long. And I have a huge, giant watch list of things that I still got to get to. Part of the reason I really loved the Century in Cinema Project, the podcast, was I just took a bunch of films that were on my watch list. Part of the rules are that I have to have not seen them, so it kind of keeps it interesting.
Ooh.
And now it's just a way to watch all the films on my watch list.
So before you watch a movie for that, then do you look at the reviews prior to like kind of know what you're getting yourself into, or do you go in blind? Like you watch a trailer or?
No, I mean, I'll go in blind, and some of them are really popular movies. We're going to watch the 1989 Batman here in a couple of weeks. I'm excited for that. But some of them are just tiny little movies. Andrew Slaughter, super smart guy. He's seen like every movie, I swear to God. And he'll recommend like obscure stuff. We watched a film called Veronica Voss, which was this West German film, 1982. And it's talking about the country grappling with its fascist Nazi past. I would have never sought out Veronica Voss. It's kind of like Sunset Boulevard in a way, but it's got Nazi stuff in it. But I thought that was really fascinating. I went in totally blind to that, and yeah, cool stuff. I think it's fun to go into films blind. Don't you think so?
I do. I find myself like, unless it's a huge superhero movie or something like that, you know, like I'll look forward to a trailer maybe, but like mostly like on Netflix or HBO Max or whatever, I'll just throw on a random movie and like get stuck into it. Sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it does not pay off at all.
I mean, are you watching classic films that have like a solid reputation, or are you just kind of like picking random stuff on Netflix?
I'm just picking random stuff, man. I know, like I picked a Keanu Reeves movie because it has Keanu Reeves, right? But knowing his history with movies, like it could have been a hit or miss, right?
Hit or miss, yeah.
Unfortunately, it was a miss. But I enjoy actors like him or Nick Cage who do these really small projects, you know, that truly I don't know how they get funded, but it's so cool that they get made in that regard, you know.
So you're picking stuff sometimes just based on the actor and kind of trusting that they chose a project that you might be interested in.
Yeah, I mean, recently I watched was it James? You know James Gandolfini, right?
The Sopranos guy.
Yeah. He's in a movie with Julia Louis-Dreyfus called Enough Said.
I've seen this. I've seen like pictures of it. It looks cool.
It's good. I went in blind. I didn't know anything about it except they had those two actors, and I didn't know I had Toni Collette in it. So when she appeared, I'm like, oh, no fucking way! This is great, you know. But I mean, I cried in it at the end. I'm like, this is like such a good movie. But I watched the trailer afterward. I'm like, I probably would not have seen that on my watch list, you know, like watching that trailer. So I don't know. It has its benefits not to go in, but if COVID was not a thing, I think it would be fun to go to theaters blind and just have a whole theater day, you know, where you just buy tickets back to back for back-to-back showings for movies you've never even heard of, you know, like if you go to Broadway and do that.
Oh, dude, yes.
That'd be like so great.
Oh, yes. I loved doing that. That's always fun. Did you do that before COVID?
No, I did not.
Like hit up 3 movies at the Broadway during Oscar season. Oh, it's so fun.
Nope. But I do. Oh, I remember you and I saw a Nick Cage movie with Marta, of course.
Oh, was it Colorado Space?
Yeah, in the tower. You and I sat next to each other, and we're both like, okay. But that's a movie I went in blind. There we go.
What a trip.
Yeah, man. I miss theaters. I miss going to movies. They're fun.
I think you should just go to movies.
I know.
Listen, the Broadway has the you show your vaccine card.
Yeah.
And so, you know, other people are vaccinated in there, and you can sit far away from everyone. You can still be masked. I think going to a theater, and especially an art house theater where no one goes, is probably one of the safer activities you can do during a global pandemic.
Oh, for sure.
And I'm not just saying that because I love movies. I think that's true.
So go back to your podcast. I mean, how did you guys get started on this? Like, how did this come to be?
Oh, man. Chaz, you're such a good podcaster. You know how to wrap things together, because we only did it because of the pandemic. We were sitting at home bored, and it's the height of the lockdowns. No one can go out. There's no vaccines yet. People are shouting about wearing masks. So you're like, well, I don't feel safe anywhere. So yeah, I called up Andrew. We had a history together. We had watched a couple movies together through mutual friends. And then he had a job working for the Salt Lake Film Society. So he was at the Tower all the time. And I loved stopping by the Tower on my way home from work to just pick up random movies. Again, blind buys. So Andrew would recommend stuff at their DVD Blu-ray rental. And yeah, always great, interesting picks. So when I had this idea for a podcast, because everyone was doing a podcast as soon as COVID hit, yeah, we can admit that, yeah, it's popular. I was like, I want to do this project. I want to start watching films on my watch list and to get a good sense of like film history, because I loved that part of film school. It's like learning about the old ways of doing things and really using that as a foundation for your own work, knowing where tropes came from, and just giving myself my own learning experience. So I called up Andrew and wanted to see if he was also interested in this, and absolutely he was. So we developed a list and said, let's just watch these and do a little bit of research and then talk about them afterwards and just see how it goes. I was also really, really interested and curious to sort of use cinema and film history as a way to follow global history. Yeah. I mean, sitting at home as a global pandemic is going on, I'm like, we're living through something crazy right now. And I know there's been other crazy events and situations that have happened. I mean, I lived through 9/11. I have memories of it. And what else did I miss out on? So this project really became a great way to explore the other traumas, really, that the world has gone through from 1920 onward. And I got to tell you, there's a lot. I got to think that if social media and the terror storm that we kind of found ourselves in with the internet were around during like World War II, or
God, dude,
the oil crisis in the 70s. Like I can't even imagine how much, like what kind of screaming would be going on Instagram and Twitter during that kind of thing.
Do you think there's a possibility that like if that was a thing, we would have not won the war as we know it today?
It would be unbelievably different. It's not even worth trying to consider what World War II would look like with Instagram. Vietnam. I mean, just kind of following the culture wars around the time of the Vietnam War in America. The culture wars we're living through now are definitely harrowing, but I mean, there was terrible stuff going on in the 60s and 70s too. I mean, students were being shot on campuses by the National Guard. It's nuts to think about. So just every single episode, I begin with a little context for our listeners to tell them like what the events were, what was going on that year, and to kind of give them some perspective on how much has really happened throughout the century. It's a lot. It's been really eye-opening, and all the films we've chosen have kind of had a sense of the zeitgeist. I remember the Manchurian Candidate. The Manchurian Candidate is about a political assassination and like brainwashing and stuff, very conspiracy theory. But it comes out before the JFK assassination. And it just feels like it's predicting some crazy stuff that's about to happen.
It's crazy that we actually have that on video too.
Oh, yeah. I assume you've seen JFK, Oliver Stone's.
I have not.
Ooh.
Believe it or not, I have not. Would you recommend?
I would, yeah. Especially, yeah. I mean, if you're interested in conspiracy theories, I don't.
Depends what kind of conspiracy. People nowadays have ruined that term, so it's
they have. You're right.
What happened to just aliens on the moon and planning pyramids? Like what happened to that?
What happened to the fun conspiracy theories?
Yeah, now it's all like beyond New World Order shit and sacrificing children and drinking their blood. Like it got dark real quick.
Oliver Stone's JFK is good. It's a good conspiracy. I don't prescribe to a lot of what it says. I mean, it's got an agenda, but it's a fun movie.
I like all of his movies too. Let's be real.
Yeah, yeah. I have no problem with that, unless it's like an agenda of like pro-Nazi. Those are bad movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. With your podcast then, so did you guys record like the first episode then release it, or did you guys kind of, because as you know, I'm sure, recording podcasts at first gets really awkward, and it's like a lot of mouth noises that you weren't aware that you made, and all this stuff. And to this day, it's like listening to myself and over, I think you're going to be episode 57, 58, I think 57, but
oh, cool.
Hearing myself in post editing, just saying and like, it's a thing. And I've tried to like be aware of it. Then eventually I just gave up. I'm like, yeah, fuck it.
It is what it is. I think I've gotten better at speaking through podcasting. I've gotten better at audio editing through podcasting. You have to. You sticking to a project and doing something week by week builds.
Do you guys ever get burned out then? Like, do you like record a lot of episodes so you can have a minor break in between?
No, not really. We try to record an episode every week. But we took a break after episode 50 just to take a break. And maybe we should not have, because our listenership actually like peaked right before we went on break. Like we had found an audience and then we disappeared. Yeah. And when we came back, it was the 1970s. And guess what? Remember when you said you hadn't seen any movies from the 1970s?
Neither have they.
Yeah. So we had all these obscure cult films. And I think, listeners have told me that they like to listen to the movies that they've seen. Some people listen to the episodes, the films that they haven't seen just to learn something new. But, it makes sense. People are going to click on Mary Poppins. They're going to click on Dumbo. And yeah, I think we lost a few people, but now we're back in the 1980s. Our listenership is back up. We've been releasing week by week. And yeah, I feel like we've got a solid little audience coming back. And, I know how this project is. I know how podcasting is. It takes forever to find an audience. Yeah. And when we started out, the silent era, people were nice enough to listen and learn something new, but these are old films. I understand that people aren't driven to engage, and it's kind of like a book club, right? That's how we pitched it, is that we say what we're going to watch next week. Some people watch it with us, and then we talk about it. We discuss it. We research it. I don't think anyone does that because no one's got time for that. We recorded 5 episodes to start out with, and then we released them. And yeah, those first 5 episodes, I don't recommend anyone listen to them. I think we did a good job, but they're not our best work. So go listen to something else.
It's cool to like look back on them,
How far have we come? Yeah.
It's cool. It's I know, like with my first episode was with Casey Wright, who was in my short film. And this is before COVID. So I mean, like this was like the first 9 episodes were all in person, but there was like an echo that I was trying to figure out like how to for the other mic not to catch my voice and to keep it as balanced as possible.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. But now like people would come over to my apartment and whatever, and then the last person to be on like in person was episode 9, and she's got back from LA at the peak of when COVID first like started hitting everywhere.
Oh wow.
And I remember during that whole podcast interview, I was like, we didn't know then, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's crazy how much we did not know. But now now it's this. But then transferring over to Zoom, I think it took me like 6 or 7 episodes after Zoom to even figure out a process for that. So there's changes as you go on, but
yeah. I mean, I assume you did a lot of research on, the kind of mics you wanted to use and
well, I got these mics. Well, I got these mics for a different podcast idea that a friend and I had. And I'm an impulse buyer, so I just went out and like, let's do it. Here's my credit card. Bam. Mm-hmm. In hindsight, not the brightest idea, but you also paid off in the end. I think
you just do it. Like, you just do it. That's the advice you get from a lot of people, right? Just do it. Just start it.
As far as tracking goes, I don't know. I did find a Reddit thread where this guy was like talking about his, post edit process because they all do it over Zoom. And he was kind enough to drop all of his settings. And I'm like, I got to copy this. So that's what I did.
Perfect. I just jumped into the Century Cinema. There was a little prep, we developed how we wanted to outline the episodes, and we had the list of films we wanted to watch and everything. And Andrew had some great ideas and films he wanted to watch. We did plan it, but there's so much more that you don't expect when you start any project. I know this. And the back end of podcasting absolutely sucks. You know this. It's marketing these things and trying to find your audience and all this. I mean, you're just burnt out by the time you do your homework, researching films, watching films, recording the thing, editing the thing. And then you come to the end, you're like, well, just put it out there. And, if we build it, they will come. And here's the sad, honest truth. They don't come. There's like a lot of work in order to find your audience. And
it also depends on when do you post on social media? Like, when do you announce stuff? Like there's algorithms they're trying to hit. And I don't know about you, but like I was with Podbean. Like that was like the hosting stuff I was using when I first started. But then after like a year and a half of me not, getting anything from that, I mean, it would be nice to get sponsors every now and then, right? But the listenership wasn't there. And I'm like, I can't justify this money. And so I switched over to a different hosting site that's more free. More free.
Yeah.
But the downside of that is I lost all data from the other site.
Oh, that sucks.
So it's like rebuilding that whole listenership. If I would have known that, I've been like, fuck, I probably would have stayed.
Yeah, just stay with the other person.
But this one though was a lot actually easier to work with. And last year around October, I kind of got burned out, and I took like a 3-month hiatus. I'm like, I don't know, mental health hit, whatever. Like,
take care of yourself. Absolutely.
I can't do it, right? And I even thought about putting up the headphones and just calling it quits. But aside from that, though, I Walter, you know Walter, right? Do you know Walter?
Yeah.
He reached out to me, saying he wanted to be on, and that he was going off social media, and then I didn't reach him in time because I was taking kind of a break from social media. I'm like not really paying attention to Facebook. So, but thankfully, I had his email from like a project we worked on a couple of years ago, and so I emailed him. I'm like, "Do you really want to do this?" But because of him, he got me kind of back into it, and now I'm just booking people. So you just got to take a break. You got to take a break. You got to take a break.
Nice, man. Yeah, it is. That break in the middle of our 100 episode lineup, giving ourselves a little intermission there, very healthy. Even though we lost listeners, I think because of it, work-life balance is more important, especially because, let's be honest, we're doing these podcasts because we like doing them, because they enrich our own lives and we're getting something out of it. And we're like, our listeners are out there and they're getting enriched too. I hope they're finding value in what we're talking about. And but there's not like hundreds of them. There's not thousands of them. There's not enough to give us money. And
that's the hope, right?
Yeah. Move us into like a professional podcasting sphere. We're doing this because we find a benefit in doing it. And if that benefit isn't there anymore, then we got to really rethink, like, if we continue to do it.
Yeah.
But week by week, like watching a new film and getting some new historical context has been a very eye-opening experience for myself. So every time I kind of feel burnt out, and it's only because of editing. Editing sucks. I watch another film and I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. I can't wait to talk about this. So that keeps me going.
That's good.
Yeah.
With editing though, how long does it take you to edit an episode usually? Like how much stuff do you cut out that listeners don't even hear?
Yeah. So Andrew and I usually record for about an hour to an hour and a half. And all of our episodes have kind of been ending up in like the 50-minute range. Sometimes it's
nice.
not a lot. Sometimes it's only cutting out the ums and the ahs and the sort of errors and stuff. But sometimes, and I love Andrew, but we'll just go off on tangents. Total nonsense that I gotta be the strict editor and think about the story we're trying to tell for our listeners in the end and think, okay, do they really need this? Is this benefiting the flow of our episode? And I'll sometimes cut out a lot of stuff just to try to, I mean, that's what I was trained to do as an editor. You try to find the story to tell. Even though there's some stuff that gets cut that is funny, it can be very funny, but it usually takes about 4 hours to 6 hours
per episode.
Yes, per episode. Because you got to think again. You got to listen back and see if you've messed up.
Well, yeah. Is that including like figuring out like a description to put for the site? Like what the episode's about, or finding links and stuff and all that too.
Yeah. That's also part of the 4 to 6 hours.
I think that takes me longer than actually editing. But I told you before, I don't usually edit stuff out.
Yeah, you don't do too much editing. That's got to be nice. I'm jealous of that.
A lot of it's just laziness, honestly. like you said, I have other stuff to do.
Yeah, I just have to, man. I mean, I work as an editor. I've done so much film editing. I couldn't just release raw footage online of a film or a video project. Like I've got to put it in Premiere and find the story and kind of like ease it into something that I find to be presentable. I don't know.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Now, with your love for film, what got you into that necessarily? Like, I'm sure like your love for it already, like for the craft, kind of made podcasting a little bit easier, right? Like, can you imagine being somebody who hates cinema and where you're forced to watch the stuff for a podcast?
Wow. Sometimes I do hate movies. Don't you ever feel really cynical? You're like looking at what the top box office is, and you're just like, what is happening?
Yeah, it's called Spider-Man.
I've heard it's great. I like Marvel movies.
I'm glad you do.
but we talk about this actually because we all fall in love with movies in a different way, right? And there's always some first love out there. And 1954, we talk about it in the podcast, Godzilla. I fell in love with filmmaking because of Godzilla, for sure. And
you told me that Nick Cage thing.
I hope so, because I like talking about Godzilla. I don't want to totally derail us because I could just go on and on and on.
Derail it.
Let's talk about Godzilla. Well, I was shown the American Godzilla, the Roland Emmerich 1998 one. My dad took me to that. I like it. It's fun. It's not a great Godzilla film, but it's fun. And I got to get it credit. It got me into the franchise. So even though a lot of Godzilla fans are really not happy with it, I have a soft spot for the American Godzilla in 1998. And it was like the first like big grown-up movie I saw. Like that's a PG-13 film. And I saw it when I was 4. So I was scared, but intrigued by what I saw.
Did you have the VHS?
And then the VHS with the eye, right?
With the eye, and like you could feel the scales on the cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Man, bring back all the good memories, dude. So then I remember going to the Blockbuster with my dad and renting all the old Japanese Godzilla films and just sitting down and watching them over and over and over and over again. And, falling in love. I know a lot of people fall in love with film and filmmaking because of the tactile nature of it. At least people our age, like they fall in love with Star Wars because of the fun like alien suits and everything, and they might fall in love with Lord of the Rings. I know a lot of people who like the behind the scenes documentaries on Lord of the Rings, the extended cuts, and seeing how that process goes, like seeing how people go out and just like make movies is so fun. So I think I kind of fell in love with the tactile nature of suitmation and the way that the Japanese giant monster genre presented itself. I also love giant monster films in America too. Don't get me wrong. Ray Harryhausen's stop motion monsters are just so fun, so cool. And I watched The Valley of Gwangi. Do you know this movie?
I don't.
Cowboys and dinosaurs. Valley of Gwangi.
Not cowboys and aliens, but cowboy and dinosaurs.
Cowboys and dinosaurs. It is amazing. So if anyone, that's the pitch. Cowboys and dinosaurs. Valley of Gwangi.
Going blind.
Yeah. So I think that's how I really fell in love with films, and that continues to this day. Godzilla films and giant monster films are some of my favorites out there.
What's your first moment of like watching a behind the scene, seeing that come to life? Do you remember that?
I think I also fell in love with the behind the scenes nature of filmmaking through the Lord of the Rings, those documentaries.
See, yeah, mine was Underworld. With Kate
Underworld?
Beckinsale. Yeah.
The werewolves and werewolves versus vampires, right?
Yep.
I've never seen them.
Dude, so because when that came out like in 2003, I was like in third grade, you know?
Perfect.
And like Kate Beckinsale was like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty, right? Like as an 8-year-old, 9-year-old boy, I'm like, she's so cute, right? But I remember because like my parents are divorced, and my dad was the cool dad, you know, like we could watch this movie, you know what I mean? Like,
oh wow.
But you know, you could cover your eyes, cover your ears, kind of the dad, right? Like,
yeah.
But I remember he rented that from Blockbuster, and I remember seeing parts of it through the theater window of the door when my mom took me and my younger sister to go see Spy Kids in 3D.
Oh wow.
They went to use the restroom, and I was just like, you know, waiting by the restroom, waiting for them. And I looked through like the window, you know, you could see part of the movie theater screen, and like it was like nonstop action. I'm like, this is so cool. So when my dad rented it from Blockbuster, I'm like, this is so cool. And
what
I mean, there's
memory. I love that.
Yeah, but the behind the scenes, the one thing I remember the most was there's a scene in the movie with vampires running fast toward the car, right? And he's catching up to this car. And then the way they did it though was there was a rug, and the actor was on the rug running while the car is driving slow, kind of, you know what I mean? Like that kind of cool old school effect. And just seeing that, like, that's so freaking rad.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they put it together. Yeah. Like right in front of you, you know what I mean? Like, so that's one of my favorite memories.
Man, I don't want to be one of those people that just like bemoans how everything's animated and CGI now, but it is sad. Like you miss out on some cool set pieces because of that everything just moving in that direction.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like somebody posted a video of a certain big franchise that's owned by a big corporation. It was supposed to be a meaningful scene, you know, where there's a hug after a huge fight.
Mm-hmm.
But the suits they are wearing are CGI'd as hell. And so when they hug,
there's like clipping.
Well, it just doesn't look like the arm's even touching the back. And like I had to like rewind it a few times. I'm like, that's so not like, I mean, first glance, you won't recognize it at all, right? I mean, that's the CGI. That's magic CGI is like, as long as you don't notice it, it's beautiful. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But when you re-look at stuff like, oh my God, you know? But then my thought goes, when we look at CGI from older movies from like the 90s or, you know, like, I mean, T2 or, yeah, you know, with that T100, whatever it's called, T1000.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't aged well. It's still good to this day, but you could tell it's CGI, right?
Sure.
I wonder if in 20 years from now, we'll look back on all these superhero films and be like, oh my God, like we had that CGI. Like, what's it going to look like in 20 plus years, you know?
Oh, I think I think you're right on the money there. CGI just doesn't age quite as well as any practical effect. And I mean, especially if you're trying to have like a scene with heightened emotion and really trying to strike at something true and honest, it's so distracting. And, I think T2 is a great example of using it so sparingly because they had to, because that's how the assembly line was set up back then. There just weren't as many people doing it. So they use it every now and then. And you still have the emotional end of T2 that is real. It's real. It's a real moment of heightened emotion, and it totally works. I actually just watched T2 for the very first time, like 3 days ago.
Mine was 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
The first time.
Let's go.
Yeah, I went on a Terminator binge, and
very good.
For a while, I wasn't the biggest fan of James Cameron, but now I'm like, he's all right, I guess. I can appreciate his stuff.
He makes a great film. Just good filmmaker, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Because for me personally, I'm not a fan of aliens. I know.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, just only because it feels like, because Alien was like such a horrific film, it was like truly full of tense, and the effects used, like it's so dark. But then Aliens just feels like a shoot 'em up kind of a movie, and I was like, oh my god, really? But then I watched the Netflix the movies that made us. I don't know if you've seen any of those.
No, not yet.
They have one for Aliens, and it talks about the production of it and James Cameron and all this stuff, and I got a new appreciation for it, dude. I'm like, and that's what started this whole Terminator thing. Maybe I need to like revisit his stuff, because my favorite James Cameron is True Lies, believe it or not.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which is another childhood memory, though. Like it's not.
Yeah, you have nostalgia for it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since, whatever, but.
If your listeners are eager to know my thoughts on Aliens, which I gotta just imagine they're begging for it. That is a bonus episode on our Patreon, Century in Cinema Patreon, so they can go there.
You guys have a Patreon? We
have a little Patreon. Again, it's more work, so but I was curious. I mean, I kind of just wanted to go for it, and again, no money to be made in this profession, in this hobby, but
Mr. Joe Rogan.
Unless you're unless you have a giant following and just say stupid shit all day.
Yeah.
But I wanted a Patreon just to kind of go through the whole experience of living the podcaster life, and we have some great listeners there, great followers. We have some bonus episodes available there, and it's just enough to like kind of cover the expenses of doing the podcast. The monthly expenses of because we use Buzzsprout, which is not free. But I like their interface, so I'm going to stick with them. And we use Audition, which is also not free.
No, it's like $50 a month. Well, if you have the whole suite.
Yeah, there's ways around that, but yeah. So yeah, we're definitely not making any money off of our podcast, but it does feel nice to have fans and listeners that are excited enough to help us produce it.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. That's kind of the load off of our backs. We appreciate that. So yeah, a little Patreon, but it's just little.
I like that, dude. I know for this other podcast I'm on, Go Geeks, we have one on there, and we try to release some exclusive content.
Oh yeah,
on there. Yeah, I don't have any of the stats to it. That's all Patrick, the host. But there's one video that we released where I'm sitting on a toilet.
Whoa!
And I get a dead leg while scrolling through the Dune reactions.
Okay.
It's based on a true story.
Like a little short film that you guys filmed?
I did it myself. I did it while I was working, actually, because I had some free time.
Oh.
Yeah, I did it on work hours. But I just filmed it as a joke, because what happened realistically it was the Dune, screenings in July or whatever. Like the sneak screenings, the first reaction.
Oh yes, okay.
I was scrolling through Twitter, right, for 40 fucking minutes after I got home from like a parent's house, whatever. Like I was just scrolling through Twitter for 40 minutes in the toilet, and then I stood up after everything was done, and my god, dead leg. and like my leg gave out and like I fell. So I grabbed onto the toilet seat and the toilet seat broke.
Oh, wow. This is a whole big ordeal.
Yeah, dude. No, I fell into the bathtub. And this is like 11:30 at night, right? And like I'm a 200+ pound dude. So when I fell, I mean, I bam, and I'm on the 3rd floor. So I know for a fact my neighbor below me heard me. And nobody came to say if I was okay. And I was fine. But I'm like, dude, I can't. And so I texted my parents. I'm like, guys, I just fell in the bathtub. And they're like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, but it was from a dead leg. Like, I can't, it's just, I thought it was funny. So that's why I did a video of it. And it was a joke. And then Patrick's like, we should do this as a Patreon exclusive. I'm like, hell yeah.
And you guys haven't released any other like bonus content on your Patreon or anything like that?
We might have done some for like Snyderverse stuff.
Okay.
Because it's more of the comic books, superhero nerdy stuff we cover on there, but
fun stuff.
I don't know, man. I haven't. He has all the access to that. I don't.
That's Patrick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I follow Patrick on social media. One of the few people I like seeing his posts. He got some lighting.
Yeah, I'm just fucking with that. Ignore me. No, Patrick's a cool guy. But Patreon, and I thought about doing Patreon for this, but I'm like, I can't justify him. Like, it's everybody's artist, it's everybody's podcast. I don't edit stuff out to like keep exclusive content. So
yeah, that's really the trouble, right? Is that now as soon as you got a Patreon, that's a whole nother thing to kind of manage. Yeah. So Andrew and I try to keep it pretty light. And we always kind of devise a topic tangential, kind of related to the episode that we're talking about that week. Nothing that covers like the film history or the world history going on, because we want to keep that for the actual episode, but something fun to go along with it.
Yeah. What are some of your guys' best highs that you've kind of had doing the podcast?
That's a great question, because it kind of comes down to like the discoveries, right? The films that have surprised me.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you that there was one film, I think it was 56, 53. It's a 50s film. The Cranes Are Flying from the Soviet Union. Yeah. No one's seen this film. Chaz. I loved this film. I fell in love with it. It is beautiful. It's just a poetic, gorgeous, ode to the people who lived through World War II and the people who were left behind as the soldiers went off to war. It's about this woman whose boyfriend goes to fight, and that's what I'll say. But it's a harrowing film, but it's got so much emotion, so much beauty in it, and it left me feeling. There are films out there that are actually suffering. Like they are hard to watch. They wring you, and by the end of it, you just have no hope for the future. This left me feeling so joyful by the end. I mean, to take you through that emotional low and then to bring you to such a place of beauty by the end. I fell in love with The Cranes Are Flying. And there have been lots of other films that have surprised me. I really liked The Holy Mountain from Jodorowsky. That was like a religious experience, a really weird one, if anyone's seen that.
He almost did Dune.
He almost did Dune. Yeah. We mentioned that. Yeah. What a weirdo. Have you seen any of his other films?
I saw one for because I took an experimental film course in school.
That's where it would be. Yeah.
I don't remember what movie it was, but it was interesting to say the least.
They're out there.
Yes.
They are problematic and they are out there. But what a unique filmmaker, Jodorowsky. Yeah. Alejandro Jodorowsky. And one of our favorite episodes was Phantom of the Paradise, which is Brian De Palma film. It's an adaptation, it's like Phantom of the Opera meets the story of Faust, and it's this really cool rock opera musical. I love rock opera musicals. So fun.
Like when you say rock opera, you mean like full on like guitars and drums and stuff, or?
That's in there. Yeah. There's techno. There's a lot of different music. There's like, I'm not a music guy. There's a lot of different genres in there. It's such an eclectic film and it's so fun. It predates the Phantom of the Opera, the musical that we all know and love. And it also predates Daft Punk. And clearly Daft Punk took a lot of inspiration from this film, not only in their look, but I think their musical style. So Phantom of the Paradise is another really fun 1970s cult film that I would recommend to people. One of our highlights is definitely like West Side Story. I hadn't seen the original West Side Story, and that was a ton of fun. We had my composer friend Kagan Brighton back on the episode, and he gave us a lot of great insight into the music and the composition, how it was so unique for the time period. West Side Story was a really great film, and I think our discussion was a lot of fun.
You've seen Spielberg's West Side Story?
Yes. I love it. I love Spielberg's
really good?
West Side Story.
Nice.
Yes. I was so sad to see that it didn't get the box office recognition it deserved. But I also saw that it was nominated for some Oscars, which is, that's always helpful for a film like this. And I hope more people see it. I thought it was absolutely lovely.
That's cool. I know nothing about it. I've never seen the play. I've never seen the musical. I have the old one in my watch list, I think on HBO Max or something.
Yeah.
So eventually I will get to it.
Yeah. Highly recommend the Steven Spielberg interpretation. And do you like musicals? I know some people are kind of iffy on musicals.
Yes and no.
Okay.
It depends on the context, I think if they're like fun family musicals, it can be fun, I guess. Like I think like what comes to mind with that is like Hairspray, right? I think that's a fun family musical to an extent. But my favorite musical is Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, you were Phantom of the Paradise, man. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, dude. And like Schumacher's version with 2004, I thought that was so fucking cool.
That's the one with Gerard Butler, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Emmy Rossum. It's so cool. I don't know, but here's the thing too. I mean, because you brought up rock opera. There's a movie called Repo the Genetic Opera or something like that.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
I have not. I know a lot about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's so indie, but the music is so freaking cool and good.
Mm-hmm. And
like a lot of the composition, it's a very well made indie horror musical.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. So it just depends, really. I know Marta recommended I watch Once. I don't know if you've seen Once.
Yes, Once is great. It's barely a musical, but it's really, really good.
Yeah, and so I was watching that. I'm like, this is actually really cool, And then I found out that I actually have 2 or 3 songs from that singer on my Spotify playlist, and I didn't know that was him.
Oh yeah, Glenn Hansard. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, so I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are iffy with musicals, and you kind of don't blame them. But I mean, musicals used to be Hollywood's bread and butter. So many musicals back in the day, and I've found a new appreciation for them because of this podcast and going through and watching a lot of the old Hollywood musicals. I think they're so much fun, and being able to have that kind of expression, that emotional sort of just catharsis on screen where everyone's dancing and singing, and there's so much choreography and camera work going on. I love musical sequences. I think it's like filmmaking at some of its best.
Well, it's because it also includes like other forms of art, Yeah. I mean, it feels like film's like the generic sense of it, right? Like as a whole, yes, it's the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's like the dancing that goes into it. There's the composition of the music. There's the artistic integrity of the costume design. You know what I mean? Like there's so much to it that goes into it. And the editing is where all the magic happens,
Yeah.
It's like art within art within art within art. It's so cool.
It is. Yeah. What was going along with my love for monster movies? Have you seen Little Shop of Horrors?
No, but I know of it because I used to work a stage crew in high school for the theater department.
Oh, so you listened to it. You were like behind the curtain.
Dude, I've listened to so many freaking songs and reincarnations of it. I'm like, it's like one of those movies where like you've never seen, but you probably piece together, because from all the scenes and stuff you've seen, and you're like, I think I have a general idea of what this is about.
Yeah. That's fun. I'd recommend it, but you might be sick of it. So it might bring back bad memories if you were like having to listen to it over and over in high school.
No, dude, I mean, because it has Rick Moranis, right?
I think so. I think so.
Can you say his last name?
Chaz's listeners, let us know if we're wrong.
Yeah.
Comments.
When I just said that out loud, it sounded like I said more anus, and I don't know.
Oops, that's not it.
I don't want that. But speaking of him, I did watch Ghostbusters movies recently too.
The old ones?
Yeah, and the new ones.
Okay. You went through and watched all of them.
Okay. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I don't understand the hate for the 2016 one, but I don't understand the love for the new one either. So I'm kind of like really conflicted on that.
I mean, I understand the hate for the 2016 one. It's coming from a place of like infantile, like neo-Nazi weirdness. But so I understand it. It's just clearly wrong.
Yeah.
I also haven't seen it, so what do I know?
Here's the thing too. Like, I'm not the biggest Ghostbusters fans. Like, I didn't know there was like a fandom for it, right? Similar to how I didn't know there was a fandom for Dune. Like, I knew there's a fandom for Dune, but I didn't think it'd be toxic, right? So
is it toxic? Yeah,
dude. Because I read the books, or I read the first two books, I should say, Dune and Dune Messiah, and then I watched the movie and joined all these groups. And like, dude, you think Star Wars and Star Trek are bad? Like, this level of fandom is like next level of like gatekeeping, and I'm like, do you guys have a life? Like, seriously?
Oh, that sucks. That's sad to hear. I used to be a part of some fandoms, and I just
there's a lot to be part of a fandom.
It is. It's a whole lifestyle. It's a commitment
on social media, at least. Yeah.
I like liking stuff, and there is so much gatekeeping and whatever that goes into some of these fandoms that I used to be part of, like the Godzilla fandom. I haven't been a part of it in years and years and years. I have no idea what the state of it is.
What was that like before you kind of went away from it?
I mean, the toxicity definitely like pushed me away.
For Godzilla?
Oh yeah, you said there's toxicity in Dune. There must be toxicity in everything. It's sad. People get wound up and they start to like they think of the entertainment as a part of their own like life and their own sense of identity, and that's not healthy, man. I love a lot of a lot of films and a lot of work, but having that distance, being able to like separate yourself from it, I think is so important as cinema viewers, to where, if someone hates something that you love, or if they love something you hate, that's not going to deeply offend you and like attack your sense of self and be like, how could you do that? How could you say that about Star Wars: The Last Jedi? Just chill. If you like it, you like it.
Do you not like The Last Jedi?
Yeah, I had problems with it, but
I'm just kidding.
I don't care anymore.
Dude, you know what? So like those arguments were so fun to have when it first came out. And I bring it up just as a joke now because like it's the one movie everybody goes to like shit on still. But
yeah.
For example, my good friend texted me. He's like, I just rewatched it. I'm like, yeah, it's great, right? You finally came to your senses. He's like, no, I fucking hate it still. I'm like, what? But it's he said that. I'm like, it's so past its mark now, dude. I'm like, it's like 4 or 5 years ago now, almost. Like,
yeah, aren't you're just tired? Or just tired. I couldn't even talk about the rise of the Skywalker. I'm exhausted. There's so much. There's other movies. There's other books. You gotta go talk about other stuff. Dune. We love Dune.
Dude, Dune's fun. Have you read the book?
Oh yes. Chaz.
So, and you saw the movie, right?
Yeah.
Twice. Did you like it?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I really loved it. I say yeah, like it's not love, but
oh yeah. So like what I love though is like a lot of people are criticizing where it ends, right? And I'm like, no, where it ends is where it's gonna begin. Like, this is where Dune becomes fucking Dune. You guys don't understand.
I have said to people who like really love the movie and who were like really excited, people who haven't read the book, right? People who saw the movie and just thought it was amazing, and they're right. But I do think narrative wise, the heavy lifting, the real challenges are still, they're still ahead. And I believe if anyone's going to knock it out of the park, it's going to be our Lord and Savior, Denis Villeneuve. But
my guy.
we still only have half of the story. And if the second half doesn't meet our expectations and kind of what's been set, then this first half is going to be looked upon pretty poorly, unfortunately. But we'll always have the book. We will always have the book, and that is beautiful. The book will always exist, and the book is really, really good. All of the discussions about power dynamics and ecology, and I mean, Frank Herbert, the author, is just a super smart kind of guy. Love his science fiction.
Yeah, dude, here's the thing too. I didn't know anything about Dune Messiah when I was reading it.
Mm.
So reading that was like a whole 180 because it's a lot darker.
Mm-hmm.
It's flipped everything over, and the guy that we, spoiler alert, the guy that we, thought we could relate to and love, like Paul Atreides, is not really that Paul Atreides anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know Denny's been a record saying they want to make a trilogy, Dune Part 1, Part 2, and then Dune Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
That would be so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And all these people, and like a lot of the criticisms I've heard too is like, the white savior trope and all this stuff. I'm like, yes, but it's on purpose. Like, it's all addressed. You just have to read the books. It's all planted. It's there. It's valid it's valid criticism, but you're criticizing it in the wrong light. You know what I mean? Like,
it's coming. I mean, hopefully it's coming, right? They need to knock the second and third movies out of the park.
I hope so, because then I did watch the Sci-Fi's Children of the Dune, which is Children of the Dune's book, from my understanding, which I have not read, but it does have Dune Messiah in the first part of it. Like, it covers that book too. And dude, they got dark again. Like, and Sci-Fi produced a pretty decent, adaptation of it for being a TV.
Right.
Series.
I have heard people say that they wish it was a TV series. Do you agree with that sentiment? That this new Denis Villeneuve Legendary Pictures one was more like Game of Thrones?
No. Only because there's a lot at play, yes, with politics and all that, and there's a lot they did cut out from the book, that they could still expand on, maybe hopefully bring back into the second movie, right? I don't think this TV series would do Paul Atreides justice, like his whole arc justice necessarily, because what we got from the movie showcased that we can do it in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Why do it in a TV show when we can still do it for a movie? Like I felt like the TV show would be more for more complex characters.
Yeah, sense? I mean, Dune's got complex characters, and I think TV in general gravitates towards anti-heroes and sort of darker plot lines. So I can see where people are coming from.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the fact remains, like, it was handled really well in the film. So don't fix what's not broken. And I will never, ever forget the experience of seeing Dune in IMAX. Like, it was incredible. Like, that's real, like, movie history going on. Like, when I tell people that I saw Lord of the Rings in the theaters, like, sometimes they didn't get to do that. I got to do that. And I also got to see Dune.
I didn't get to do that. Yeah.
Chaz, I'm sorry you didn't get to do that, but you got to see Dune in theaters.
I did before it came out wide release too.
Hell yeah, man.
Even like, and like, it was weird because, like, I had this anxiety being like, this is a movie that's not going to exist because, COVID. Because COVID kept pushing it back and back, and I'm like, this is a movie people keep saying it's be impossible to make, and I'm like,
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, dude, and like you said, IMAX changes everything, and that's my one criticism of the 4K, because like with Christopher Nolan puts the IMAX ratio into play on The Dark Knight. Like, it goes full screen, widescreen, whatever. Dune does not do that on 4K, and so there's shots that are still kind of cut off where I'm like,
I think I saw people complaining about this online. That is a little sad.
Yeah, because all you need, even though, like, I mean, like, there's a shot where Lady Jessica and Paul are, walking through the sands of the dune, and there's the moon in the distance, right? Like, after they escape that.
Oh, did they ruin that shot?
No, the theatrical version, I mean, you still see the moon, and it still looks beautiful. Don't get me wrong, it still looks beautiful, right? And you wouldn't know any different. But like IMAX, it's like the full screen. Like, you see the full moon, you see the full scope of the desert, right?
Yeah.
It's just cut off because of the widescreen aspect ratio. And I wish they would have included that IMAX full resolution. You know what I mean? Like
that makes sense. And this is the 4K like physical release.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is sad. And I was explaining to someone why they need to see it in IMAX months ago when it was out. And the physical act of like having to move your head around the screen to like take it in, like that's something we don't appreciate nearly as much in cinema now, because everything's edited so that we can just sit back and like not have to engage at all. But I love that the cinematography in Dune actually does have us engaged. And like, I felt small, I felt insignificant in the face of the desert as it's spanning out before me, and the monster as it rises from the desert. Like there was something really visceral and physical about sitting there in the theater and feeling like in awe of it.
Dude,
so
and like
cool.
the sandworm scene,
Mm-hmm.
when you see that huge wave of sand just come crashing toward them and they're running away and the music's at its peak, and you're like, oh my God. And then they get in the copter and then they're flying away, and all of a sudden you see the thing get destroyed. 4K version, like the theatrical, widescreen. I mean, yes, beautiful, don't get me wrong,
but it's pan and scan.
But the IMAX, dude, I mean, like you see the full fucking skill of that mouth. Like you don't like falling into that, we would be nothing. Oh, bro, I love that movie.
I'm glad you also love the book.
I do. No.
Well, I wouldn't change anything, right? Like I think that was such a honest and faithful adaptation of that book. One of the best I've seen in a long time. Where you just feel like, they loved what I loved in this piece of literature.
Yeah.
So cool. Here, can I show you something?
Yeah.
This is just great podcasting material, right? Like,
okay.
Do your listeners appreciate this? Let us know if you appreciate this. I assume all movie discussions just lead to Dune because it's like this, it's this literal like whirlpool. It's this literal whirlpool in filmmaking right now because it's just this thing.
Yeah, and then he got snubbed at the Oscars, so there's that too.
I heard about that. It was sad.
Yes.
But here, I have this. This is my copy of Dune. Ooh.
Oh, is that the book?
This is the book. This is the Folio Society. Do you know what the Folio Society is, Chaz?
No, what is that?
It's like, do you know what the Criterion Collection is?
Yeah, is it like the Criterion Collection of books?
It's like the Criterion Collection of books. That's how I describe it to people. Yeah. And they do gorgeous, beautiful renditions of old books. So I have to show you like this gorgeous.
Oh, dude.
Beautiful. Yeah.
What?
And there's illustrations inside too. Here, let me find a good one. I mean, they're all good, but let me. Ooh.
This is beautiful, man.
You see that?
Oh,
I knew you'd appreciate this.
So who did it? Because I got just the paperback from Barnes and Noble. And here's the thing, dude. Have you tried to listen to the audiobook of it?
I will not do that.
It has different voices, and like I listened to the audiobook once, and like I did not get the full grasp of it, right? And so when people are like, well, I'll listen to it, right? I'm like, no. You gotta read it, dude. Like when you read it, it's so immersive, and like you're on fucking Arrakis. Like you're there.
Yeah.
You're feeling the stand. You're feeling the heat. You're feeling dehydrated. You're feeling everything.
I love the sense of exploration where you're kind of dropped into this world, and like you have to go to the glossary in the back and like look up what all this stuff is, and you're looking at the map and everything. Like it doesn't make sense to listen to this as an audiobook. And I've heard people try it as an audiobook, and they've all said, I didn't like it. I was confused. I said, you got to read the book. So yeah, sorry to the listeners. Just you got to believe me that this is a nice copy of Dune. We can keep talking about Dune forever because we just could.
I know. It's good. We'll bring this back to your craft and your podcast. What are some of your lows that you've faced then with doing this? Like, do you have some fears doing it still, or because I know you said you're going to 100 episodes, but like, what does that look like afterward? Like, are you going to start a new podcast or?
Well, there's a couple things to address in there, right? Like, okay, so definitely low points in the podcast now is just the amount of time it takes. There's so much time that you need to devote to any project you do to do it well, in order to make it worthwhile. And just like I like to play Tetris with my Google Calendar and just like see how well I can schedule everything. And it's just like a big chunk of the week to produce a podcast. You know how much it's a project, and it's a week by week thing. There's the benefit of, keeping me focused and doing that. But at the same time, I know that the fear of missing out is real, right? I think about, well, I could be writing short stories. I could be watching other films. Like sometimes I feel a little, married to, okay, well, we got to watch this movie this week. I don't want to, but I'm not in the mood for Pink Flamingos. Sorry, Andrew, but but I'm going to watch it. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be great. So those have been, I think that exists with any project, right?
Right.
Trying to rekindle the love you had for it as you just keep going, but you got to keep going. You got to just work through it and keep putting it out there. And you will fall in love with it again, hopefully. Week by week, I do. I find as we watch the new movie, I find a new appreciation for something I didn't know. They're all new to me. That's always been a sense of rediscovery. Man, editing them sucks. But not too much. 100 episodes is a lot of episodes to commit to, but at least I know that that's the commitment. It's nice to see that progress bar on our letterbox list filling up, and this sense of oh my God, we're coming to the end. It's gonna be a project that's full and fulfilled. It's gonna be great. That keeps me going, even when sometimes you think, man, this is a lot of work. 100 episodes is a lot of work, but then you look back and you see how far you've come, and you're like, okay.
And it's roughly about 2 years of work almost. If you're doing it weekly, because there's 52 weeks in a year or something like that.
Right around there. That's right.
That's 2 years of commitment, dude. What episode are you guys on right now?
We're on, we just watched, come on, I'm going to forget this, live.
Scarface. The one you posted was Scarface. You know what episode that was? Right.
We're at 83 as far as what's posted, but we are ahead. We just watched Predator, 1987, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You've never seen that before?
No, I hadn't.
Bro. Bro.
Both of us had just not seen T2 until a week or so ago. So
I haven't seen Godfather until last year either. So yes, I get it.
There we go. Yeah, there's plenty on everyone's watch list, the list of shame. But yeah, Predator was great. I'm excited to talk about it. And yeah, just keep going. In general, there haven't been too many lows,
Right.
It's always really fun to talk to people out in the wild who have listened to the podcast, and they kind of continue the conversation. A lot of people have continued the conversation with All the President's Men, which is a great film about Watergate, and The Deer Hunter, great film about Vietnam. So these films that kind of have historical significance inspire conversations about our history. And that's always kind of fun to see cinema inspire real conversations about important topics. That's cool.
So, okay, have you guys already made out your list of movies you're going to watch then?
Yes, but we change it all the time. It's not set in stone.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes, we'll be 2 episodes ahead, and we're like, we shouldn't do that one. We'll change it. It's okay.
Do you have one that you have yet to record that you're looking forward to? Most definitely.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I was really looking forward to Mishima, Life in 4 Chapters. And that was 85, 86, 85, I think. And that was a really fun one that I've been waiting for literally since the beginning of the podcast. I was like, I can't wait to get to Mishima, Life in 4 Chapters. And The Handmaiden from 2016, Korean film. Andrew has been talking that one up. I am excited for that one, Andrew. So The Handmaiden, Honestly, Chaz, every single one I am excited about because they are on a list of shame. Like they're ones that I want to watch. Face Off. You'll appreciate that. Face Off.
You've never seen Face Off?
Yeah, excited for Face Off.
Dude, that would be I think they're remaking that, aren't they?
Oh, they shouldn't do that.
I think they. Hold on. Before I confirm that, I'm gonna look that up right now. But dude, you're in for a ride for Face Off because it's. It's John Woo who's
it's John Woo, right? Yeah.
And you've seen Mission Impossible 2, maybe?
Actually, that's the one Mission Impossible I haven't seen.
Okay, I mean, granted, it's probably the most disliked one, but it's cult status, man. Like it has so much going for it. That's just dumb fun and greatness.
Was that John Woo?
Yeah, that was John Woo too.
Cool.
There's slow motion. There's doves. There's like a motorcycle. Like, what more do you need? And
that's a great film.
Tom Cruise, you know.
That's an objectively great film right there.
Oh, okay. So the Face Off. So Face Off is the new one's a direct sequel, not a remake.
Okay. Is it still going to have Travolta and Cage? That's important.
That is important. I don't know, but okay. It's Adam Weingart doing it. You know, are you familiar with his work?
I mean, he did Godzilla versus Kong. Am I right?
You are right. And that movie was fun.
Yeah, that movie was fun.
I will not listen to any naysayers.
Yeah, I'll fight for that movie. I love that movie.
That's cool, dude. I'm glad that you're watching all these movies. It sounds really fun.
Like I said, I wanted to treat it like a book club, and I was hoping more people would follow us, but I don't blame them for not following us. It just occasionally tuning in for the ones that are interesting or the ones that they have seen. Totally understand that. But there's some great films out there. There's some hidden gems, and we try to hit everything. We try to hit the American films, the international films, the little ones, the big ones. We try to go all over the place. So there's a little something for everyone. It's been a great journey through film history and regular history.
So now, since you kind of said, you know, what your favorite era was, what's your least favorite?
Least favorite era?
Yeah.
Like I said, pros and cons to all of them. Low point. One of my least favorites was The Searchers, John Wayne one. I mean, the silent films are hard. They're legitimately hard.
They are hard. Even in school, dude. Like when we had to take those classes, like it was like an easy nap class. And I hate to say that, but half the time I napped. I'm not gonna lie. So,
I mean, at the University of Utah, you went to the U, right?
Yeah.
The film classes are at like 6 p.m.
Are they now?
Or they were when I was there.
Wait, when did you graduate?
2015.
See, I said I was in 17, but
maybe they moved them around. But my film history classes were at 6 p.m.
Oh, dude,
I was falling asleep. I could not stay awake for those old films sometimes, and so even now the silent films are hard. I don't blame people for thinking of them as kind of a novelty, and it's hard to be like genuinely entertained by them because our sensibilities are just so different now. So you have to kind of rethink. You have to get into the mindset of someone going to the Nickelodeon with their dime after a hard day at the factory and going to see the latest Marlene Dietrich movie or something like that. So
there's one movie I want to watch that I have not seen, but it's Nosferatu.
Oh yeah.
And there's also what's called Vampire.
Vampire. Yeah,
okay.
We did that. We did that for our podcast. People are gonna like really get mad at me. Marlene Dietrich's not the silent era. I'm not smart. I ignore things I've said. We say things wildly wrong on the podcast all the time. That's why I have to edit sometimes. It's like we'll just say things and then we'll like catch ourselves and be like, wait a minute. Look that up. And then we'll go on Wikipedia and be like, that was wrong. We are terrified of giving wrong info out on the podcast.
Dude, we all know Michael Bay did Citizen Kane, okay?
Oh my God. And that's also a reason I got to edit is sometimes I'll hear something I said or something Andrew said, and I'll just like second guess it and look it up and be like, that was a little bit off. That was just off a little bit. And then I'll try to re-record it or try to find some way to massage that. But yeah, when you're doing research so quickly and it's two dudes talking, it's just two of us talking. It's not written out or anything. So yeah, sometimes we say things that are a little wrong.
That's part of being human, man.
But saying things wrong on the internet, Chaz, is dangerous.
But you're not saying Michael Bay directed Citizen Kane, so I think you're in the safe zone.
Yeah, we'll be okay, I think.
And that's not shitting on Michael Bay. We all love some Bayhem, dude. Like, who doesn't love those explosions? I got Armageddon on the list. We're doing Armageddon for the 90s. I have not seen that fully. I've seen bits and parts of it. One of those movies that. Same thing with Independence Day, actually. I have not seen the full thing. I know. It's just always, childhood memories of it being on TV. And stuff,
yeah.
And Gone in 60 Seconds. That's another one.
I haven't seen that one either.
Nick Cage, dude. You can't go wrong with Nick Cage. That's a lie. You depending on what you watch.
You're a big fan of Nick Cage. Yeah, you bring him up a lot.
I love Nick Cage. I love Nick Cage and Keanu Reeves. Dude, riddle me this. Keanu Reeves and Adam Driver playing in a movie where they're father and son. Yes or no?
Who's the father and who's the son?
Keanu Reeves is the father. Adam Driver is the son.
Okay.
Adam Driver is like the spiteful son, like Keanu Reeves fucked up somewhere in the relationship, and it's just like a father-son movie.
Okay. Yeah. Keanu Reeves is like ageless, right? So I just had to ask. I love both of them. I will watch anything with Adam Driver. I think he's an extraordinary actor.
Did you like The Last Duel? Have you seen that yet?
I just said I'd watch anything with him, and I haven't seen that.
It's on HBO Max now, just so you know.
I should watch that. I know. I'm sorry, Ridley. I know he's listening. And
it's another movie that got snubbed at the Oscars, but
yeah,
we'll let that be its thing. But
well, as long as we're talking about snubs at the Oscars, which again, really topical for the people listening to this in like 2 years. So thank you for bearing with us. But did you see Mass?
I have not seen Mass. One of my friends on social media, who I follow, absolutely loves Mass.
Yes, everyone who has seen Mass loves Mass.
Also, Drive My Car or something like that. I've never seen that either.
Yes, also very good. Absolutely. Yes, worth it. Mass, another one of those films that like just pulls its audience through the ringer. It is emotionally devastating, but then by the end, the reward, the catharsis, the beauty of it all. It's like, oh, this is storytelling. This is why I go to the movies. This is why we love tragedy, right? This is why we need it in our lives. This is why we don't just sit there and just shovel popcorn into our face. And this is what movies are capable of. I love Mass. So
what's one movie that always comes to mind and that's always been your favorite theatrical experience that's kind of invoked those emotions?
Like something I saw in the theater.
Yeah, or movie or whatever. But
yeah, that just left me like where I was just like stumbling out of.
Because mine was Interstellar.
Okay. That's a fair answer. I think that's great.
Well, it's because it was IMAX too, right? And so when people say they haven't seen IMAX, like it blows my fucking mind, dude. I'm like, that's a movie that deserves an IMAX release every fucking 5 years or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an extraordinary experience for sure. There are emotional moments in there. The Lighthouse.
Really?
The Lighthouse like reached through my primal monkey brain and started like squeezing on something that I didn't know was there. And I was like, oh shit, this is affecting me. And yeah, as I stumbled out of the theater and went back to the box office to talk to, it was actually Andrew working at the box office that day. I just had to like get my emotions out. I had to like tell someone about, oh my God, The Lighthouse. This is a crazy movie. So what the hell happened?
So a few months ago, probably sometime in the last summer, Marta had me on one of her Instagram lives that she randomly does talk about The Lighthouse.
I know she hates it.
Yes, she does. She thinks A24 is probably a dude brand.
It's not her brand. I can see that.
Yeah, and then she's like, A24 is only a dude movie, and I was trying to defend it, and everything I was trying to defend, I'm like, it's kind of on point.
Wait, A24. Wait, A24 is a dude movie?
No, Lighthouse.
Lighthouse is a dude movie. Yeah. So what?
Yeah, well, no, but I didn't think about that. So I was trying to argue my points, and then she kept pointing out all the shit, right? And I'm like, is it a dude movie? Like, it totally got me to like rewire. Like, I'm like, maybe this is just a dude movie somehow. I thought everybody liked it, but interesting enough, my grandma watched it. At the theater when it was out in theaters,
mm-hmm.
and she told me she hated it word for word. I fucking hated it. And I'm like, wait, you saw The Lighthouse? Okay. And this is before I even saw it, right? And then when I watched it, I'm like, you watched like a mermaid vagina? Like, what?
Yeah. This is a bizarre film for anyone who hasn't, who has no idea what we're talking about. Two guys stuck on an island. They're tending to a lighthouse. Storm comes in. Now they're stuck on the island and they go crazy. Okay. Black and white, Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe.
Yep.
And I think what it has to like say about male power dynamics, like
yeah.
I can understand like women hating this film because there is something very primal that speaks to like me and experiences I've had with other dudes. It makes sense. It starts to click and you're like, oh my God, this is affecting me in a weird way. The Lighthouse is really good. And I don't think it needs to appeal to everyone to be really good. Marta loves films that I will straight up, they're not for me. I don't think they're bad. They're just not for me.
Yeah. No.
Again, coming back to that idea of like distancing yourself enough to be like, someone doesn't like this film or someone loves this film. It's not going to like offend me on a personal level. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was just funny though, because I never really thought of it as a dude movie because I thought it was a movie that everybody's seen. I'm like, it's just a general movie.
Yeah.
But then in hindsight, I mean, what she said was true. Yeah. And she even brought up, Robert Pattinson doing his little, thing with himself. And I'm like, being a dude, I'm like, I mean, yeah, we would like see that happening. You're alone in a lighthouse. You got to release stuff, stress, relief, I guess.
I suppose.
Maybe, I guess. I don't know. But then I'm looking back even further. I'm like, the director did do The Witch. Not everybody loved The Witch. I fucking love The Witch.
Yeah.
My family hates The Witch. And because I recommend they watch The Witch and Mandy, they don't trust my movie recommendations. I'm like, you guys are wrong. They're both fucking metal.
Mandy's on our list, on our Century and Cinema list.
You have not seen that either?
I haven't seen Mandy. I'm excited for Mandy. Look at him go. The listeners can't see how excited Chaz just was.
Dude, I watched that so many times. I saw it with Marta and Dan. Dan? Yeah, Dan.
Yeah.
But I saw that with them at the Tower, right? And this goes back to like what you were talking about with like the independent theaters being so cool.
Yes, they are.
Because with Mandy, all we heard was the buzz from Sundance. That's all we fucking heard. There wasn't even like a trailer out yet. Like it was just this buzz.
Yeah.
Then it premiered at one night at the Tower, just like one night only. We went, not knowing what to expect. And dude, we've seen that in a full theater. I mean, it was like packed. I mean, I think it was like sold out,
Fun. Very fun.
Fun. Nobody knew what was going on. People were laughing, cheering. I'm like, oh my God, this is a cult film. This is the definition of a cult film in the making. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and you were there.
I know. Yeah. And so when people are like, I just didn't get it, I was watching it at home alone. I'm like, oh, you missed that experience.
Yeah.
That theatrical experience of being, this is fucking awesome.
I'm happy. I'm so happy you got to that. That's cool. I'm jealous of you just describing that. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I think I was going to pull it out, but I'm not going to look for it. But yeah. But where we'll tie this back though. So how do you guys hope you can inspire others with doing this? And like, do you think it's just to get these films recognized and kind of like spread the word?
Yeah, that's a great, some of the cult films, some of the smaller films, it's great to introduce them to people who might not have sought them out otherwise. Again, I come back to The Cranes Are Flying is just such a beautiful, beautiful film. It was actually used in a program between America and the Soviet Union during the 50s to try to ease tensions with the Cold War, right?
No way.
To show Americans like this is the kind of art that we make. So it was an important film in a lot of ways, coming and being used to show Americans how people in the Soviet Union live and the kind of experience they went through in World War II. And it's still applicable for that today. The international films, some of the stuff we recommend, being able to experience other cultures, how other people live through filmmaking and through art. It's just that's one of the great benefits of art. So I definitely hope A Century in Cinema introduces some obscure films to people who will then have a new appreciation for other cultures and other people in different time periods that they wouldn't have otherwise. That's great. Andrew is really good at recommending films that are underseen and deserve more love. I think he sees the podcast as a great avenue to recommend films like that, and I hope people seek them out. One of my tenets, like one of the things that I really want to make sure we do with the podcast is like encourage positivity in film watching. Again, toxicity in fandoms. There's a lot of toxicity in like film Twitter, cinema viewing in general. I see some people on Letterboxd and all they write are 1-star reviews. How could you do that with your life? How could you just sit there and watch films you hate and go and complain about them on the internet? I don't get that.
I mean, I did it with Marvel, but I was just doing a Marvel binge. So, it's not just Marvel, it's DC too. It's just like the superhero faction as a whole.
You're tired. That's okay.
Yeah, I'm just tired. But I mean, I don't know if this is on the podcast recording or not. We've been recording for a bit. Boba Fett. I don't know if we were talking about that before.
We mentioned, but yeah.
I love Star Wars for that show. But I bitched about it on my Facebook and then I deleted it because I'm like, I know what people are going to say.
What is this accomplishing?
Yeah. Well, plus the last time I complained about it a couple weeks ago, all these people started bringing up Citizen Kane and all these movies that use flashbacks, right? I'm like, you're kind of missing my point of what I was trying to say. But I was like, maybe I'm just not conveying my point. So it's just wasted arguments that don't really add to anything in the end. And we're all just, you're valid if you love it. You're valid if you're not, you don't love it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think there's like be honest with yourself. If you don't like a film, like don't fool yourself into like liking it. That's not what I'm encouraging either. I'm just saying like there's great art out there and you owe it to yourself to experience the kind of great art that exists out in the world. That's the most enriching thing you can do with your life, I think. Like as a filmmaker, as someone who likes to consume media and entertainment, like consume the stuff that's going to be a benefit to you. And if hate watching things is a benefit to you, I guess all power to you, but I don't want that toxicity in my life. That's not necessary right now. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It depends too. Like you can hate watch something and just not be vocal about it,
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot to be taken from watching movies as a whole. From any movie you watch, there's always something to be taken from it of things you can do or can't do in terms of storytelling and how you can advance your own craft. How can I apply these techniques or lessons to what I know? You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And so like with Fast and the Furious, for example, would I make like a whole article about why that whole franchise sucks or the new Jurassic Park? Definitely not. Mm-hmm. Will I watch those out of spite? Probably. Will I make it known I don't like them? Likely. Like I'm not going to go like on a 20-page rant about it. Just like, no, just no. But and vice versa, though. I mean, there's films that I absolutely love, and I just don't care to write about either or share my love for on the internet. It's just a lot of it's personal. It's just a lot of the moment cinema is a very personal journey, is how you know it's really affecting you. Like when you watch something and you're able to reflect. That to me is the true meaning of it. Even if you liked it or if you did not like it, the filmmakers would be happy that at least you reflected on it in some way.
Do you have a film like that, Chaz, that you maybe just keep coming back to that is really personally affecting for you? Is something that's important to you in your sense of your life?
It's Arrival, man. That's why I got the
Hell
tattoo.
Yeah.
That's why I got the tattoo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great choice.
But it's because, I mean, dude, like it's the only movie to make me cry within the first 5 minutes. And it's the only movie to make me cry in the last 5 minutes, because everything comes to a full circle, which is even thematic of itself. Like it's really poetic in that sense, you know, like
how does it do that?
Right. So and good. Then recognizing like how subtle it is and just like the themes, it felt so relevant then. And it still feels relevant now, you know, like especially with tensions rising with, you know, Russia and Ukraine. Like it just everything in that movie, just it's so awesome. And what's even more cool is the screenwriter, what's his name? I'm spacing his name. I'm not even going to try to remember it, but
it's okay.
He's done movies like the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Which is a not awful remake, but it's a 2010 remake of a horror franchise.
Yeah.
But it shows like what he's capable of, you know, and listening to him talk about the script and the writing process of it, and like how he read the short story and what he got from it, and all this stuff. It's like, oh my God, you don't have to be a well-known creative to make something great. And I mean, and I brought this up on my last podcast, or maybe 2 podcasts ago, but it was with you know, Chernobyl. Have you seen that?
Oh yes, I love Chernobyl. And I know Craig Mazin. Yeah, he did all the other one.
Craig Mazin. Yeah, he did scary movies. You know, he's known for scary movies mostly, and you know, Script Notes podcast, which is great. But seeing how, you know, the scary movies played out, like Scary Movie 3 specifically, and then like comparing that to Chernobyl, it's an evolution of craft and like the creative process. I think it's so fucking cool to see that. You know what I mean? Like there's so much to it, man. I love movies.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's such a good choice. I love that. And I don't know, did you see that in theaters?
Arrival?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I went in blind. I was on Twitter, people were talking about it. It's a must see. I didn't watch the trailer for it. And then I saw it before I went to work, because I worked at a janitor shift. And so I worked later at night. So I watched it before I went to work, right? Like caught matinee. And it was on my mind. I'm like, I have to see this again. So I convinced Martin and Brendan to go see it. And it was so mind-blowing. And then I didn't know that it was Denis Villeneuve, I didn't know it was Denis who did it. But I was familiar with his work because of Sicario and Prisoners. And I saw Prisoners with my parents. And so it's just all these dots just connecting, you know, and like boom, 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 boom. Like, and here we are talking about Dune, you know, like for a good 10 minutes. It's fucking cool, dude. Cinema's fucking rad.
Hell yeah. And Arrival, watching that in theaters, I bring it up because I watched it maybe like a day or 2 after the election in 2016. And it sometimes feels like a movie comes along at just like the perfect right moment. Like how could that be more perfect? Like that is the mental shower I need from all the dirt, all the shit that's been building up. And just to remind yourself like what humans are capable of, what kind of beauty we are capable of in the face of like such rampant hatred. I think Arrival is just like peak sci-fi. It is perfect. And maybe it was an accident that it came out, you know, at just the right time. And maybe that's why I have like a certain love for it because I watched it in that context.
I don't know, man. I mean, if you believe in accidents for sure, but like, I don't believe in accidents, you know, like I'm just like, there's stuff to it, you know,
it touches on zeitgeist, and it touches on topics that are topical in contemporary worldly society. I mean, yeah, if you're paying attention to anything right now, Arrival feels really important.
Yeah. And then like, even in terms of like, just like technical aspect, because, you know, this is when we're still in film school. I mean, as in a year before I graduated, right? When it came out, 2016. And I remember just being so blown away by that cinematography. Like, how do you get that shallow depth of field? And it felt so close and personal. It's because it was close and personal. And then listening to podcasts with Bradford Young about how he shot on like a 28 millimeter lens, you know, at like a 1.2, and just really getting in there. I'm like, because those wide lenses, you have to get in close. I'm like, oh my God, like they're forcing you to get close with these people. Like it's all on fucking purpose. And those out of focus shots it's so much to it that feels raw. And I got a tattoo for a reason, and I'm glad it was Arrival.
That's a great choice. Yeah. And get a tattoo of Arrival. Have you read the short story? You must.
Yes, it's on my Google Drive.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, Ted Chiang is probably the best science fiction writer. I say that, and I haven't read nearly as many as I would like to say. Contemporary science fiction writer that I have read, he is my favorite. just incredible short stories. Have you've read others from him too, I assume?
I have not. No.
Oh, Chaz, you're in for it. You get to experience other Ted Chiang short stories out there.
Do you have recommendations then?
I'm happily going to lend you Exaltation, his book of short stories, and I'll earmark a couple that I really like. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I'm excited.
And I don't know about you, but the short story, I mean, it's a little different from the film, but thematically a lot of the same stuff, right?
Right.
But something about reading the short story changed the way I thought. Like I could feel it like reconfiguring my mind as the main character was having their mind reconfigured, and like this is science fiction. This is why I read this genre.
Yeah, we did, and like just being able to, like, I mean, in the movie, you know, even in the movie, like the whole thing is like you start understanding the future when you start learning their language, but it's because it's not linear, and it's just like it is, you know, and the way they presented it as the past, because it's so reflective. It's a full circle of past, present, self. And I like to put this in terms of elevated sci-fi. The same things like maybe Interstellar, you know, because like it explores time and talking to your past self in a sense, you know, but it's your future self to the extent that it's so elevated sci-fi to the level of like, I'm excited to see what comes next in terms of sci-fi.
Yeah. Like,
how can we get better past this? Because this is like, for me, this is groundbreaking, you know? This was probably my 2001 Space Odyssey experience.
Like, which one, Arrival or?
Well, I mean, both. I mean, it's 2014, 2016. I mean, it's back to back essentially, right? I mean, if you want to do a good double feature, dude, Interstellar and Arrival, you're set for a mind-fucked mind that you probably need to rest for a day. But
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason science fiction is one of my favorite genres.
It's one of the hardest genres to nail.
It's terribly difficult. Yeah. I was stupid to keep trying to make short films, science fiction short films. It's hard. It's hard to talk about big, like intellectually sophisticated concepts and then still nail character, just still get the storytelling down. That's already hard enough.
So I have a story about one of your short films.
I hope it's good.
So over the summer, you know, I think more drive-ins should happen.
Oh, yeah.
We were watching Tremors.
Yes.
Love
Tremors.
And your short film played before it.
Did it?
Yes.
Which one?
The most recent one.
The Atomic Spawn?
Yes.
That's amazing. I didn't know it did that, but that's amazing.
But there's a downside.
Uh-oh.
Technical difficulties on behalf of the drive-in.
Oh, that's sad.
Non-sync sound, so I didn't see the whole thing. That's my story.
That's okay. That's okay.
What
that's
I saw,
okay.
Dude, like I saw your name pop up. I had no idea. Like I know you talked about it, right? But I had no idea what it was. And then like I saw your name pop up, and I'm like, Arth. And I looked at Martin. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? There's no way.
Oh,
what?
Oh, this warms my heart.
Yeah, dude. And so like I was really like watching, like this is like Arthur's work. And then the unfortunately technical difficulties happen. You know what I mean? But.
Yeah, and they do happen. And I've experienced showing a short film. I've had a couple now, and yeah, you show them around, and inevitably there's usually unsync sound. It happens, and that's okay. But I'm happy that the Redmond. I assume it was the Redmond Drive-In.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. They've been great, by the way. Like I showed it at a couple other like short film screenings that they did, and they held like a little cast and crew premiere. They've been amazing. I didn't know they showed it before Tremors. That's okay.
They showed it before Tremors, dude. I remember we were sitting in the car, and I was like, "What?" And then, yeah, dude. And we saw. I don't know if you know Blade or Maddie, but they were there with us too, and we're just. It was cool, dude.
Oh, I mean, it was great.
And Tremors is such a great summer film.
Oh,
drive-ins are such a great summer film with the windows down, you know, and so watching yours on the big screen, like on the drive-in screen, and I have so many fond memories as a child of being at a drive-in, right? And so it's cool to that was like an experience being like, I know this guy's work.
Thank you, man.
I didn't see all the way, but you know,
thank you for telling me that. I'll send you a copy of it online.
Yes, I appreciate that, man.
A perfect way to see that too, of course, at the drive-in, because it's like a little 1950s style monster movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. That'll come out soon. It's still kind of on its festival circuit. So to your listeners who might be curious to watch a fun short film about a little monster, that'll come out soon, but it's still in its festival run.
I'm excited, man. Well, okay. Well, on that note, then let's kind of wrap this up then, because we've been talking for a couple hours. Yeah, I know. Time flies, dude, when we're having fun.
I know. This was fun. Thank you, Chaz.
Yeah, man. No, thanks for coming on. What's one piece of advice that stuck to you throughout the years?
I'll try to. Should I keep it to podcasting?
No. Let's keep it like what's your favorite piece of advice just to you personally? Let's get to know Arthur just a bit.
Okay. Well, yeah, I love writing and screenwriting. We could do a whole podcast about the craft of screenwriting. I would say that my favorite advice is from Paul, the teacher at the professor at the University of Utah.
Did you have Paul too then?
Oh yeah.
I love Paul. Dude, I miss Paul. He was such a mentor. I love him.
He is a great mentor. Yeah, seriously. As close as I've gotten into like a cult is Paul's class, and that's okay. Some cults are good, and you can quote me on that. Please, no one quote me on that. But yeah, Paul's reading at the beginning of every semester from Bird by Bird about shitty first drafts. Right?
I have that book somewhere. But yes.
Oh yeah, great book in general, but definitely that chapter on shitty first drafts. I'm sorry for all the children listening, but that they are shitty. They're terrible. First drafts are meant to be bad. They're awful, awful, awful. But you gotta get it out on the paper. And I think that advice of just working through and just getting it out there and being okay with it being bad, not being a slave to perfection, is so important. Let's relate it to podcasting. I mean, week by week, I got to put these things out. I can't perfect them, but they are out there. They're out there, and I have a people to talk to and a listenership, and it's great to know that they're there for people. That's part of art, is like getting it out there for people. Otherwise, it's just going to live in your head forever. You don't want things to live in your head forever. So be okay with shitty first drafts, because that's how you get second okay drafts and third better drafts, and eventually you get something that's pretty good, and then you can put it out there. But yeah, shitty first draft, that's the first step, and it's the most important step. I'd say that's the advice that has stuck with me the most throughout the years. There's other great pieces of advice though, and some of the advice is wrong. Some advice doesn't work for everyone, but I think shitty first drafts is something that I think everyone should follow. That would be the one to go with.
Paul's class taught me to trust others to give you the best advice possible that benefits your story, right? Mm-hmm. And when you share a shitty first draft, or when you show like a shitty first edit,
yeah,
the rough cut is not shown for a reason. I don't know, dude. It's kind of like burying yourself naked to everybody, just like being like, well, here's this shitty draft, and a lot of people will say, well, this needs a lot of work, right? And the more honest they are, I feel like the more it comes from like a stance of them caring about you as a person, but also as your craft. Like, yeah, how can you yourself embrace your craft to make it better? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so taking Paul's class, dude, I know now the room's torn down, but the infamous room in the Osh building.
Yes.
I remember him walking in, not knowing what to expect, right? Like I never written a screenplay in my life. And his presence was just like an old friend, essentially, just right off the back,
It's calming.
It was just calming, yeah, man. And hearing people read and hearing their feedback on other people's scripts, and knowing that when you ask for feedback on shitty first drafts or whatever draft you're on, like, it's always out of the benefit of the doubt. It's always to better your craft.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, dude, I missed that class.
Yeah, and I mean, that sense of collaboration is rare. But I think that it's having a good writing group like that, not only great for your writing and screenwriting and whatever, but just having that sense of how to collaborate with others that class kind of teaches you. That's been one of the most important lessons in my work as a freelance film editor, as a film producer, a video producer at the University of Utah, screenwriting, podcasting, knowing how to collaborate with others, give honest feedback, take honest feedback, bare your soul, and kind of be brave about that. Write that shitty first draft, do the first edit and put it out there, and find the right people who will help you bring it to the next level. And you help them bring their work to the next level. That's something really special about what we do. And that's quite nice.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, the first draft of anything is going to be your bare soul. I mean, it's going to be rough ideas. It's going to be what you're feeling in the moment. You know what I mean? It's like, it's very raw in that sense. But the ego instantly goes up. The walls of defense, right? Like, you don't want anybody seeing this at this moment in your life. But I was gifted a thing hanging in my car, actually, and it has like all the planets on it, but etched in the wood, or burned in the wood, if you will, like a laser burn, you know?
I know it.
It says, let go and trust the universe. And essentially, you have to let go of your ego when you're showing this craft and showing yourself, because once you allow all that back into you, like all the feedback and all the suggestions, things start clicking. And then you can better your craft and really showcase who you are on the final product. And the final product isn't done until, you know, there's an audience sitting or listening to whatever product you put out, or going to an art gallery, whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but the audience, that's the important step. That's where the art is made, in my opinion. And learning to let go, trust your instincts, let the universe take over. That's vital. And, you know, Chaz, that's exactly what Paul Atreides had to do when he was stuck in that sandstorm. Like I said, all conversations lead back to Dune. So here we are again.
Dune's great, man. But no, I appreciate you coming on, man. I think it's been fun. It's first time talking to each other one-on-one like this extensively.
No, really this was great. Yeah, I'm so happy that we got to do this, and that we one, that we got along. I think we got along.
What, you tell, or you'd fight?
I don't know. We haven't talked to each other one-on-one.
I'm like, you know what, Arthur? Fuck you.
No, but I
just flip over the camera.
Oh shit. It was great to get to know you, man, and to talk movies and podcasting, and to just get a lot of this vibing going on. This was great.
Yeah, man. It's all about networking, you know? It's all networking, connecting, and just really relating to one another, because I mean, you are a writer too, which makes it easier for me to talk to you, because like writer, you know, but or also podcaster, we're also filmmakers. Yeah. So much going into that. We also went to the same school. So yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, like I said before, you know, as long as you're not like an asshole, I think I get along with anybody really if they aren't like an asshole. So you're not an asshole by any means. I never thought you were. So.
I mean, we exist in the film industry. We got to learn to live with assholes. But this was easy.
This was easy.
Good.
It could be hard.
Yeah. All right, man.
We could call it night. Where can people find your work, man?
Yeah. I am on Instagram, Arthur_Veenema. I post there occasionally just to talk about the work I'm doing. I need a better social media presence, but I also hate social media. I'd like to be better about being on LinkedIn and Twitter and all this. I am on Letterboxd. Letterboxd is fun. That's fun social media. I guess I'm on Facebook, but if Facebook imploded overnight, that would be the best thing to happen for society, and I genuinely mean that.
Did you hear about Europe?
No.
And Facebook?
No, but now I'm excited.
Okay, just from a basic glance, this might be wrong, but from a basic glance at Twitter feed this morning, Europe won't allow Facebook to track or collect data, essentially, on its users in Europe.
I feel like that meme, the Hawkeye meme, don't get my hopes up.
And Facebook's like, what the fuck?
That's how we make our money.
Which I think is funny. Like, the reaction's like, like you won't let us collect data on people. Like just saying that out loud feels like,
yeah,
what the fuck, But anyway, so
well, I am on Facebook if that's someone's preferred method of social media. And my films are on Vimeo. Arthur Veenema on Vimeo. Short films are there. Soon I will have the Atomic Spawn up there, but right now it's a lot of my older little sci-fi shorts.
Well, let me ask you a question real quick then. With YouTube and that, what's the difference between those two in terms of posting short films and stuff? Is one taken more serious than the other?
I think that's literally it. Yeah, I think that Vimeo, literally just the layout of it looks a little bit nicer. And I have nothing against YouTube. I just post my stuff on Vimeo.
I gotcha. Cool. I've never posted anything on Vimeo, so I'm like,
you're a YouTube kind of guy.
I am, dude. But I think each app you use is just going to depend on the algorithm, really.
That's fair.
It's just what it is at this point. So I'm like, if I knew how to work Vimeo, it'd probably be on Vimeo too. So that way it's on both platforms. I don't
know. So the short films are on Vimeo. Century and Cinema podcast is found wherever you find podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It is still up on Spotify and Overcast. Yeah, the RSS feed is going out to everything. So find a Century and Cinema and check out a few episodes. It's my plea.
All that will be in the show notes.
Thank you very much, Chaz.
That'll be good. Arthur, we'll stay in touch, man. It's been good catching up.
It's been great.